Before intimacy, the connection between partners must run deeper than just physical attraction. It begins with creating a safe space where both individuals can be truly seen and heard. In order to connect emotionally with your husband, the first step is to allow vulnerability. It's easy to hide behind our walls, especially when we fear judgment. But real intimacy comes from revealing who we truly are, both our strengths and our insecurities. And when you open yourself up, you invite him to do the same, creating an emotional closeness that strengthens the relationship as a whole. This emotional bond doesn't require hours of deep talks every day, but it thrives in those moments of quality time. It's not about how much time you spend together, but how you show up during that time. These moments should be about connection, not just checking boxes. Whether you're enjoying a shared hobby, having a meaningful conversation, or simply being present in each other's company, it's about creating shared experiences that allow you to grow together. Vulnerability is one of the most powerful tools in building an emotional connection, yet it is often the hardest to embrace. We live in a world that tells us to be strong, to protect ourselves, and to put up walls in the face of hurt. But vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a bridge that connects people in a way that nothing else can. It allows us to go beyond the surface, to show our true selves, and to invite others into our hearts. When you are vulnerable with your husband, you're not just sharing your feelings, you're sharing a piece of your soul. This openness invites him to do the same, fostering an emotional connection that forms the foundation for a deeper, more meaningful relationship. To be vulnerable is to let go of the fear of rejection, to accept that not everything will be perfect, and to give your partner a glimpse into your heart. It's easy to think that vulnerability makes us exposed or weak, but the truth is, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be vulnerable. It requires you to step outside of your comfort zone, to show your partner who you really are behind the walls you've built over time. This is where true emotional connection begins, when we can strip away the defenses and allow ourselves to be seen for who we are, flaws and all. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that we should always have it together, that we should be perfect in our relationships and our lives. We fear that if we show any sign of weakness or imperfection, we will be judged, rejected, or abandoned. But the reality is, nobody is perfect. We all carry emotional baggage, insecurities, and fears. When we hide these parts of ourselves, we prevent our partners from truly knowing us. We create distance rather than connection. The beauty of vulnerability is that it invites our husbands to understand us on a deeper level. It allows them to see us not just as partners or spouses, but as human beings with hopes, fears, and dreams. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable with your husband, you give him permission to be vulnerable with you in return. Vulnerability is not a one-way street, it's a mutual exchange. As you share your inner world, your desires, and your struggles, your husband may feel safe enough to do the same. This creates an emotional bond that goes beyond the physical. It nurtures the trust and understanding necessary for a fulfilling relationship. You begin to see each other not just as individuals with separate lives, but as a team working together to build a life full of love, support, and intimacy. However, it's important to understand that vulnerability does not mean oversharing or dumping all of your emotions onto your husband at once. It's about being intentional and mindful about what you share and when you share it. Vulnerability is a delicate process, one that requires patience, trust, and understanding. It's about opening up slowly, letting your husband in piece by piece, and allowing him to understand the layers of who you are. It's important to remember that vulnerability doesn't always come with a happy ending. Sometimes being vulnerable means facing uncomfortable truths about ourselves, our pasts, or our relationship, but in facing these truths together, you build resilience and a deeper connection. Vulnerability is not just about sharing the difficult emotions, though. It's also about sharing the beautiful, tender moments that make life so rich. It's the small acts of affection, the shared laughter, and the quiet moments of connection. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you're giving your husband access to your emotional world, the part of you that is often hidden beneath the surface. This allows him to see the depth of your love and your commitment to him, strengthening the emotional bond you share. Ultimately, vulnerability as a bridge is about trust. It's about trusting that your husband will receive you with kindness and compassion, even when you share your most intimate thoughts and feelings. It's about trusting that you don't have to be perfect to be loved, and that your imperfections are part of what makes you whole. When you take down the walls and open up to your husband, you allow the relationship to flourish in ways that would be impossible without that emotional connection. Vulnerability isn't just a bridge to intimacy, it's the foundation of a strong, resilient, and loving partnership. In relationships, time is often seen as a measure of how much we care. However, it's not the amount of time we spend together that truly matters, but the quality of that time. Quality time is about being present, fully engaged, and deeply connected during the moments you share. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the more time you spend with your partner, the stronger the connection will become. But quantity doesn't guarantee quality. In fact, it's possible to spend hours together without truly connecting, while just a few minutes of intentional focus time can deepen the emotional bond in ways that extended periods of distracted time cannot. The modern world often fills our lives with distractions: work, technology, family obligations, and so much more. It can be easy to find yourself physically present with your husband, but mentally and emotionally checked out. You might be in the same room, but not truly engaging with each other. This is where quality time becomes crucial. It's not about the number of hours you're physically together, but the moments when you're fully tuned into one another. True connection happens when you are both emotionally and mentally available, when you listen, respond, and engage in ways that show you value each other. Quality time involves intention. It means being conscious about how you spend the time you have together. Instead of merely coexisting in the same space, you create moments of meaningful interaction. Whether it's a deep conversation, a shared experience, or simply being present without distractions, quality time is about prioritizing each other above everything else. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle of daily life, but when you carve out time for each other, free from distractions, it shows that you value the relationship and the person you're with. This doesn't require grand gestures or elaborate plans. Sometimes a simple evening walk or sitting together over a cup of coffee can be the most meaningful way to connect. What makes quality time different from just being together is the emotional and mental engagement that comes with it. You can sit in front of the television for hours without really bonding. But when you take time to talk, laugh, share thoughts, or experience something new together, you deepen your understanding of one another. These are the moments that build the foundation of trust, love, and intimacy. It's in the quiet exchanges, the laughter, the honest conversations, and the unspoken connections that true intimacy thrives. These moments are what create lasting memories and emotional ties that endure far beyond the fleeting moments spent in each other's company. It's important to recognize that quality time doesn't always have to be planned or structured. Sometimes the most meaningful moments arise spontaneously. It could be a conversation that flows effortlessly after a long day, or a shared laugh over something small and insignificant. These unscripted moments can be just as valuable, if not more so, than meticulously planned dates. The key is to be present and engaged, to show your husband that you are there with him, not just in body, but in heart and mind. When you create an atmosphere of openness, relaxation, and connection, it allows both partners to feel heard, valued, and understood. The impact of quality time on emotional connection is profound. It strengthens the bond between partners by reinforcing the idea that they are a priority in each other's lives. This sense of priority fosters a deeper emotional intimacy that transcends the physical. When your husband feels that you are genuinely present and invested in the time you spend together, he is more likely to reciprocate the same level of emotional engagement. It's through these shared moments that the foundation for deeper connection and intimacy is laid. Furthermore, quality time helps to strengthen communication within the relationship. In the busyness of life, it can be easy to overlook the small but important aspects of communication. However, when you focus on being present during the time you have together, you create space for meaningful conversations. These conversations, whether they are about dreams, fears, or day-to-day events, contribute to a deeper understanding of each other. They build a mutual respect and appreciation that can only come from truly listening and engaging with one another. And ultimately, quality time is a reminder that the most meaningful relationships aren't built on the number of hours spent together, but on the depth of connection during the time you do share. It's about being fully present, deeply engaged, and intentional in how you nurture your relationship. In a world filled with distractions, making the conscious choice to prioritize quality over quantity can transform the emotional landscape of your relationship, creating a bond that is strong, enduring, and filled with love. Listening with empathy is one of the most powerful ways to emotionally connect with your husband. It goes beyond simply hearing the words he speaks. It's about truly understanding what he feels, what he needs, and what he may be struggling to express. Many people listen with the intent to reply or to fix a problem, but empathetic listening is different. It's about setting aside your own agenda, quieting your internal dialogue, and focusing completely on the experience of the other person. When you listen with empathy, you create a space where your husband feels safe, valued, and accepted. And this emotional safety lays the groundwork for deeper intimacy. Often, in relationships, conversations can become transactional or surface level. We talk about the chores, the schedules, the plans, and the responsibilities. But real connection happens when we listen not just for information, but for emotion. When your husband shares something with you, whether it's a frustration at work, a childhood memory, or a quiet fear, empathetic listening invites you to go deeper. It calls you to ask, what is he feeling right now? What does he need from me in this moment? Instead of rushing to give advice or to offer solutions, you simply allow him to be heard. And being heard without judgment is one of the most profound forms of love we can offer. Listening with empathy requires patience and intentionality. It means resisting the urge to interrupt, to correct, or to defend. Even if you disagree with what your husband is saying, empathetic listening holds space for his experience without making it about you. It communicates, I may not fully understand, but I care enough to try. This kind of listening validates his emotions, letting him know that his feelings are real and important. It doesn't mean you have to agree with every word, but it does mean you're willing to walk alongside him in whatever he's going through. One of the greatest challenges in listening with empathy is learning to tolerate discomfort. Sometimes your husband might express emotions that are hard to hear, anger, disappointment, sadness, or insecurity. The temptation might be to minimize those feelings, to steer the conversation toward positivity, or to tell him not to feel that way. But true empathy doesn't bypass difficult emotions. It acknowledges them, sits with them, and says, I see you, I'm here with you. When you allow your husband to feel what he feels without rushing him toward a resolution, you give him the gift of emotional freedom. And in that freedom, trust grows. Empathetic listening also involves non-verbal communication. The way you look at him, the way you lean in, the way you nod or hold his hand while he speaks. All of these gestures signal that you are present and engaged. Sometimes words aren't enough to convey empathy. It's the quiet presence, the attentive body language, the soft eye contact that says, you matter to me. These subtle cues can make all the difference, especially in moments when he struggles to articulate what's going on inside. Another important aspect of empathetic listening is asking thoughtful questions. Not to interrogate, but to understand more deeply. Questions like, how did that make you feel? Or what was the hardest part of that for you? Invite your husband to explore his emotions in a safe and supportive space. These questions show that you're not just listening for facts, but for feelings. They encourage vulnerability and openness, both of which are essential for emotional intimacy. When you practice listening with empathy, you strengthen the emotional connection in your relationship because you show your husband that he doesn't have to navigate life's challenges alone. He knows he has a partner who will sit beside him, who will listen without judgment, and who will hold his emotions with care. This emotional support can be profoundly healing, especially in a world that often expects men to suppress their feelings or to carry their burdens silently. Over time, empathetic listening builds a sense of partnership and unity. Your husband feels safe enough to bring his whole self into the relationship, his hopes, his fears, his struggles, and his joys. And in return, you cultivate a bond built on trust, compassion, and mutual respect. Emotional connection isn't just about grand romantic gestures. It's built in the quiet moments of listening, understanding, and holding space for each other's hearts. In the end, listening with empathy isn't just a skill for communication, it's an act of love. It's a way of saying, I choose you. Not just your words, but your feelings, your inner world, and your humanity. When you listen with empathy, you deepen the emotional intimacy between you and your husband, creating a relationship where both of you feel truly seen, heard, and loved. Affection beyond the physical is one of the most overlooked but powerful ways to build emotional intimacy in a relationship. While physical touch is undoubtedly important, true affection extends far beyond hugs, kisses, or sexual closeness. It's about showing your husband through everyday actions and words that he is loved, valued, and cherished. Emotional affection speaks directly to the heart. It nurtures a sense of security and belonging, laying a solid foundation for deeper connection that makes physical intimacy more meaningful and fulfilling. Affection beyond the physical is expressed in the way you pay attention to your husband's needs, wants, and feelings. It's in the way you remember the small details about his life, the things that matter to him, the dreams he carries, the struggles he faces, even the little quirks that make him unique. When you acknowledge these things, you send a powerful message. I see you, I know you, I care about you. This emotional recognition builds trust and deepens the emotional bond between you. Instead, it tells him that he's more than just a role or a responsibility in your life. He's someone whose inner world matters to you. Simple acts of kindness are another form of affection that goes beyond the physical. It's preparing his favorite meal after a long day, leaving a thoughtful note in his bag, or taking over a task he usually handles just to make his day easier. These gestures may seem small, but they communicate love in a profound way. They show thoughtfulness, consideration, and an awareness of what he needs, even when he doesn't ask for it. Every small act reinforces the idea that love is not just a feeling, it's something you actively choose to demonstrate day after day. Affection beyond the physical is also shown through words of affirmation. Men, just like women, need to hear that they are appreciated, respected, and loved. Telling your husband that you're proud of him, that you admire his strengths, or that you're grateful for the ways he shows up for you creates emotional warmth and security. These words affirm his worth not just as a partner, but as a person. They remind him that he's valued for who he is, not just for what he does. Verbal affection can soften defenses, heal wounds, and invite vulnerability, make it easier for him to open his heart to you. Listening is another powerful way to show affection beyond the physical. When you listen with genuine interest and empathy, you communicate that what he says matters to you. You're giving him the gift of your full attention, which is increasingly rare in a world full of distraction. By being fully present in conversation, you affirm his thoughts, emotions, and experiences. This emotional attentiveness deepens the connection between you because it allows him to feel truly seen and heard, which is one of the deepest human needs. So supporting his passions and interests is yet another form of non-physical affection. Encouraging his hobbies, attending events that are important to him, or showing curiosity about the things he loves demonstrates that you're invested in his happiness beyond your shared relationship. It shows respect for his individuality and creates opportunities for shared joy and pride. When your husband sees that you care about the things that light him up, he feels accepted and valued for his whole self, not just the parts that relate directly to you. Creating emotional affection also means being his safe place during difficult times. When he's frustrated, disappointed, or overwhelmed, affection looks like offering compassion instead of criticism, understanding instead of judgment. Choosing to stand beside him, even when things are messy or uncertain. Being emotionally supportive reassures him that he doesn't have to hide his struggles from you, and this emotional safety strengthens the intimacy between you. Even humor can be a form of affection beyond the physical. Sharing inside jokes, laughing together at life's absurdities, or playfully teasing each other creates moments of lightness and joy. Laughter builds emotional resilience and reminds both of you that despite life's challenges, you're still capable of finding happiness in each other's company. These shared moments of joy foster a sense of camaraderie and closeness that deepens emotional intimacy. Ultimately, affection beyond the physical is about being intentional and showing love through actions, words, presence, and support. It's about weaving love into the fabric of everyday life, making sure that your husband feels emotionally cared for, not just physically desired. When emotional affection is consistently nurtured, physical intimacy becomes an extension of a much deeper connection, one rooted in trust, understanding, and profound emotional closeness. This kind of affection sustains a relationship through all seasons, creating a love that is enduring, meaningful, and deeply satisfying. Building trust and security in a relationship is not something that happens overnight. It's a process, one that requires consistency, honesty, and intentionality. Trust is the foundation on which emotional intimacy is built, and without it, no amount of physical closeness or time spent together can create a truly fulfilling connection. When your husband feels safe with you, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, he is able to let down his guard, to be vulnerable, and to share his authentic self without fear of judgment or rejection. This kind of emotional safety is what allows a relationship to deepen and flourish. Trust begins with reliability. It's in the small daily actions that show your husband he can count on you. When you keep your promises, follow through on your commitments, and show up for him consistently, you're reinforcing the message that you're dependable. Even the smallest promises matter. If you say you'll call, call. So if you say you'll be there, be there. Over time, these moments accumulate into a sense of security that says, I know I can rely on you, even when life is uncertain. This reliability creates a stable environment where emotional intimacy can grow because your husband doesn't have to question your commitment or your presence. Honesty is another pillar of building trust and security. Being honest doesn't just mean telling the truth. It also means being authentic and transparent about your feelings, your needs, and your struggles. When you are honest with your husband, you're inviting him into your inner world. You're giving him the chance to know you deeply, to understand what's really going on beneath the surface. This kind of honesty fosters mutual respect and trust because it shows that you're willing to be open even when it's uncomfortable or difficult. It also sets the tone for him to be honest with you in return, creating a relationship where both partners feel safe being real. Building trust also involves creating a judgment-free space where your husband feels emotionally safe to express himself. Everyone carries insecurities, fears, and past wounds, and it takes courage to bring those into the light. If your husband feels that he will be criticized, dismissed, or invalidated when he opens up, he may choose to stay silent instead. But if you create an environment of compassion, empathy, and acceptance, he will feel more comfortable sharing his true feelings. Emotional safety isn't about agreeing on everything. It's about knowing that even in disagreement, there is respect, kindness, and love. Part of building security is also about how you handle conflict. Every relationship faces disagreements and challenges, but the way you navigate those moments can either strengthen or weaken trust. Approaching conflict with respect, listening instead of attacking, and seeking solutions rather than blame helps reinforce emotional safety. It shows your husband that even in difficult moments, the relationship is a priority and that you're committed to working through issues together. When conflicts are handled with care and maturity, they become opportunities to build trust rather than erode it. Trust is also nurtured through emotional support. Being your husband's encourager, his confidant, and his safe haven creates a powerful sense of security. When he knows that he can turn to you in both his victories and his struggles, he feels emotionally anchored in the relationship. Celebrate his achievements, stand beside him in his failures, and remind him that your love isn't conditional on his performance or success. This unwavering support strengthens his sense of belonging and builds confidence in the relationship's stability. Consistency over time is one of the most important factors in building trust and security. It's not enough to be reliable, honest, or supportive once in a while. These qualities must be demonstrated day after day through all seasons of life. Trust isn't built in grand gestures alone. It's built in the quiet moments, the everyday choices, and the small acts of integrity. It's about showing your husband again and again that you are committed to his well-being and to the health of your relationship. Lastly, building trust and security means being trustworthy with his vulnerabilities. When your husband shares something personal or painful, how you respond matters. Holding his confidences with care, never using his vulnerabilities against him, and respecting his emotional boundaries show him that his heart is safe with you. This level of trust deepens emotional intimacy because it allows him to bring his whole self into the relationship without fear of betrayal or exploitation. In the end, trust and security are not just feelings. They are the result of intentional, loving actions repeated over time. They are the invisible threads that hold a relationship together even when life brings challenges. When your husband feels safe with you emotionally and mentally, he is more likely to open up, to connect on a deeper level, and to build a love that is resilient, lasting, and profoundly fulfilling. Sharing and acknowledging each other's needs is a vital part of building emotional intimacy in a marriage. At the heart of every strong relationship is a deep understanding of what each person truly needs, not just on the surface, but emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. Many couples drift apart over time because they stop asking, stop sharing, and stop acknowledging what matters most to each other. But when you intentionally make space for these conversations, you send a powerful message. Your needs matter to me, and I want to be part of meeting them. It starts with openness. Many people struggle to voice their needs because they fear being a burden, fear rejection, or simply don't know how to articulate what they long for. That's why creating an atmosphere of emotional safety is so important. Encourage your husband to share what he needs without fear of judgment or dismissal. Sometimes these needs are straightforward. He might need more rest, more appreciation, or more time to pursue a passion. Other times they're deeper. He may need to feel respected, understood, or supported in ways he struggles to name. By inviting him to express his needs, you're telling him, I want to know what fills your cup. I want to be someone you can count on. Acknowledging his needs doesn't mean you have to fix everything or be the sole source of his fulfillment. It simply means honoring them. It's about listening without defensiveness or minimizing. When he says, I feel overwhelmed, it's not about jumping straight to solutions or taking it personally. It's about saying, I hear you. That must be hard. How can I support you? This kind of acknowledgement builds emotional trust because it validates his experience. It lets him know that his feelings are real, his needs are valid, and his inner world matters to you. In turn, it's equally important to share your own needs honestly and clearly. Many women fall into the habit of sacrificing their own needs for the sake of the relationship, or out of fear of seeming too much. But true emotional intimacy requires mutual vulnerability. Sharing your needs is not selfish, it's essential. It allows your husband to see you more fully and gives him the chance to love you in ways that truly nourish you. Whether you need more quality time, more words of affirmation, more help with responsibilities, or simply more patience on difficult days, expressing these needs clearly gives your husband the opportunity to step closer rather than leaving him guessing. When both partners share and acknowledge each other's needs, it creates a rhythm of giving and receiving that keeps love alive. It's right, people. It prevents resentment from building up in silence. It stops unmet needs from festering into frustration or disconnection. Instead, it builds a partnership where both people feel seen, heard, and cared for in meaningful ways. It says, I'm paying attention to you. I'm willing to grow with you. I'm not assuming I already know everything you need. I'm committed to learning. Sometimes needs change over time. What your husband needed 5 years ago may not be what he needs today. Life stages, stressors, and personal growth all shift the landscape of our needs. That's why it's so important to keep asking, to keep checking in. Simple questions like, what do you need from me right now? Or is there something I could do that would make you feel more supported this week? Open the door for ongoing dialogue. These conversations don't have to be heavy or formal. They can happen over coffee, during a walk, or while winding down at the end of the day. The key is consistency and intentionality. Acknowledging needs also involves celebrating them. When your husband shares a desire or a dream, even if it doesn't directly involve you, affirming his pursuit of it shows love and respect. Maybe he wants to take on a new challenge, explore a hobby, or invest time in friendships. Even when they require sacrifice or compromise on your part, communicates trust and encouragement. It tells him, I want you to thrive not just in this marriage, but as an individual. Likewise, when he acknowledges your needs and makes an effort to meet them, receive those efforts with gratitude. Sometimes we overlook small gestures because they don't match exactly what we envision, but acknowledging his attempts reinforces positive patterns. It encourages him to keep showing up, keep listening, and keep growing in love. Sharing and acknowledging each other's needs doesn't mean you'll always meet everyone perfectly. No relationship is flawless, but it does mean you're committed to trying, to showing up for each other, to bridging gaps with grace rather than blame. It creates a partnership where both of you feel supported in your humanness. Not expected to be perfect, but trusted to be present. In that mutual care, emotional intimacy deepens, physical closeness becomes more meaningful, and the love you build stands strong through every season of life.